Run, river, run, run through the hills. Run, river, run to the sea. Run, river, run to your place beneath the sun. Run, river, run over me.
Hi, this is Jan Lewis. Welcome to be my guest today. We have in from New Hampshire, I would say a new author, right?
Yep.
Jared Grace, and his book is, get this, Isolation. Now, look at that cover. If that doesn't give you the heebie-jeebies, I don't know what's going to. Did you design it?
I had the idea, but I did hire somebody to actually design the cover specifically to the specifications that I liked.
Oh, man, did they knock this out of the park.
They did great.
It's got, of course, the cabin in the dark woods. Isolation. Where did you come up with that title?
It's a great question. It just kind of came to me. I don't have a really good story as to why it came to me. I just felt like I wanted to create something that you could use the word isolation to mean several different things in the story. So the atmosphere of this story should make you feel isolated. The town set in the very northern woods of New Hampshire. Isolation, be isolated in that town. So I wanted to use a word that I could use have many different meanings.
A few months after their arrival, this guy is an author, and he moves up there to New Hampshire. A few months after their arrival in town, the locals begin seeing a creature that is stalking the woods around town, and suddenly the bodies begin to pile up. Terror replaces serenity in the small town as people begin dying seemingly at random. Now, if anybody's been up to New Hampshire and been up to those beautiful woods and those trails, this is a no-brainer. So,
thank you.
I just gave a little bit of the story. Give us some more idea of the story, your characters.
Yeah, there's four main characters in the story, four protagonists, I should say. Russell is the main protagonist. He's the one who moves up from Boston to the small town of Isolation, and then his neighbor Tom is a old Vietnam vet. Man of good character, strong character, good-looking guy, and he becomes best friends with Russ. They share drinks together. They talk almost every day. And then there is a local town historian named Bryce. Yep. He sits with what I've called them the historians. It's Bryce and a couple of his older friends, and they go to the cafe every day, and they're the town gossips, that sort of thing. Yeah. And then lastly, there's Mitch, and Mitch is from Wimpak lore, and Wimpak is the Native American tribe that I created to design for the book. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they all get together and uncovering the horrors of history. These men battle their own demons in an attempt to save their futures. History remembers, and that's an excellent picture of our author, Jared, on the back. I notice some authors, which is the best thing to do, put a picture on the back.
Yes.
Because when I read a book, I kind of like to see who they are,
sure.
Especially if I'm going to meet them
right.
shortly.
Yes. Yep. Absolutely.
What gave you the idea for this?
So I'd always enjoyed writing. But I hadn't written a word in years and years. So one day, I lived in Manchester, New Hampshire at the time, and I just decided, I'm going to get something on paper. So I went down, the computer. And so I went down to the library, and I found myself a little corner of the library, and I wrote a 5-page short story. And I said, I'm a little biased here, but this is good.
How old were you?
I'm mid-30s. Mid-30s.
And it just came to you?
It just came to me. And so it took me about an hour and a half. I wrote the 5 pages. I said, this is pretty good. I think I can do something with this. And then I built it out from there. And I thought this was a story that had legs that I could do something with. And just as a little fun fact, to keep true to that story, that 5-page short story that I wrote, I actually made that a chapter in the book. So chapter 35, I believe it is the actual short story that I created.
This is cool. Not all authors do that. In fact, I don't think I've met any author who does that. So you went to the library all by your lonesome, and with the purpose of sitting down and saying, I've got an idea.
Yep.
Listen to this guy now. If you're new to writing, this is pretty cool. I understand. I relate to this. Yes. The idea is there. How long had it been percolating?
Probably a couple of weeks at that time.
Oh, that's a short time.
Yeah. I just popped into my head.
What were you doing, as a job during that time?
Geez, that would have been, I was a teacher. I was a high school teacher then. Still.
Oh, you are brave.
Yes.
That's one I will not handle.
Yeah, I still do it. So,
What do you teach? Would you?
I teach social studies this year. Usually, it's been English for many years. I've got a degree in history and a degree in English. So they like that. They can kind of move me around if they want to.
Yeah, if you said math, I'd be like, oh my gosh.
No, that's not me. That's not me. More power to the math teachers, but I don't have it.
So you went. You were not long ago. You're still very young. So you went into the library. You sat down. Did you make just a kind of like a timetable, or did you basically start writing it?
Yeah, I started writing it. And honestly, this is what I've found out. Even now, I have a lot of ideas for upcoming books. I'm almost done with the second book. But
we're going to talk about that one. Oh, you're not getting out without us talking about that one.
So I have notes there. But when I wrote this one, when I wrote the original short story, I literally sat down at this desk and just wrote.
That's it.
That's it. I had no idea. I did initially write without names, so I didn't have Russell in there. I didn't have Sam in there. I had loved Cormac McCarthy's The Road, if anyone has read that. And I really enjoyed that in The Road, he writes the man and the boy. Yeah. Like that's, because it could be any man, it could be any boy. And I liked that, and so that's what I did there. So that's really the only change that I made in the book, was just to add the names, Russell
and how long ago was it when you began writing?
5 years. 5 years ago it took me.
That's pretty darn good for your first book.
Yeah, it took me 5 years. Well, I started that story about 5 years ago, and then it took me forever to I'd write for a couple of weeks, and then I wouldn't write, and then for a few, this sort of thing. And then finally, when I started to smell the end of the book, I said, we're finishing this. And I sat down, and I had given myself a goal to have it finished by New Year's Day of 2021. I'm sorry, 2022. New Year's Day of 2022. Yeah. And I finished it on December 27th of 2021. And so that was my goal, and I accomplished it. Where I was mistaken was I thought I didn't know the whole process of getting published and all this. And I thought, give me 2 months and it'll be on the bookstore, on the stands, and that's not the case. It's a lot more to do it. So it didn't actually get released until May 27th.
Did you self-publish?
I did.
Good. Way to go.
Yep. May 27th of 2023 is when it first got released. And so
now he's going to be up at Tatnut Bookseller when it...
I actually already was.
Oh, you were already there?
I was already there, yes. And we did fantastic, by the way. Thank you to everybody.
Did you sit in the front?
I did.
Okay, you didn't go. You're not ready for the back yet for your presentation.
I thought that's where I was going to be.
You can go anywhere you want.
Yes, but Rebecca over there had said, "Well, I think that the best thing for you is to sit right up front, get a lot of eyes on you, traffic."
Yeah, first book out.
First book out, sold out. Did fantastic.
Are you kidding? How many copies?
15 copies. Yep, and there's still several more. There is a couple more that they had ordered that are still there to autographed as well.
There are so many places. I tell my authors there are new indies. Indie independent bookstores popping up. I mean, out in Worcester, they're already...
Absolutely.
And like I've said this so many times, but do not overlook senior centers. They read. They love to read. Right. And they've got grandkids. They've got kids. They've got grown children.
I didn't think of this.
They're a great source. I had an author here. It was her first time out. First book.
Yep.
She spoke at a senior center. Within an hour, she sold all 10 she brought with her.
No kidding.
She had no hopes. I probably won't. She had 10 and they all gone.
No kidding. I hadn't thought of that. I'll look into it.
Oh, yeah.
No, for sure.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely that type of thing.
Yeah.
Now, there's another one coming.
There is. It's not a sequel to Isolation. That is in the pipeline. That's in the pipeline.
It. Okay.
This, for right now, is just Isolation. The next book, if you want me to discuss that now.
Go for it.
It's going to be called Beyond the Autumn Leaves.
What?
Beyond the Autumn Leaves.
Okay.
So for anybody who's read Isolation or will read Isolation, you'll notice that Russell's big seller is also entitled Beyond the Autumn Leaves.
Yeah.
One of the things I want to do in my books is to leave little Easter eggs around the books. So if you read Beyond the Autumn Leaves and you've read Isolation, you say, hey, I remember that.
Yeah.
It's just little cool things, I think.
Will be a little horror in it?
A little bit. Not as much as this. This is straight dark horror.
So this will be more mystery coming up.
More mystery, yeah.
Would you say this is sci-fi, fantasy, horror? What would you describe it?
I would probably just stick it in horror. If you wanted to stick a little bit of fantasy in there, you could. It's a monster. It's a creature of mythology.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to say that as well, I think that's reasonable.
A biggie. Well, you teach high school.
I do.
Young adults, this is a biggie right now with them.
Yeah, it
horror fantasy.
It is. Many students have bought it.
Do your students know about your book?
Yes.
Are
yes.
they reading it?
Many of them have. I've gotten great reviews from them, but I think they think it's really cool that their teacher has written a book.
I wish that one of my teachers had written a book too, because English was probably my best subject.
Was it really?
Yeah. I put up with the others and despised math. But,
fair. That's me too.
I mean, to get through college prep, I mean, you got to do this nonsense and all this stuff.
Absolutely.
But, okay, Jared, how can they reach you and get your book?
So they can go really to any bookstore, any local bookstore, any Barnes & Noble, any BAM, and if it's not actually on the shelves there, which many stores do have it on the shelves, but if it's not there, you can just have them order it, and they can order through their Ingram Sparks program, and you can find me online. TikTok is author Jared G, and then my email, if you ever want to just reach out, is authorjaredg25@gmail.com.
And there he is. Where are you going to appear coming up? Since we missed you.
Yes. Coming up, I have. I'll be back at the Bookery in Manchester, New Hampshire. That was actually the first stop that I was ever at, and they want me back again. Okay. So I'll be at the Bookery in Manchester, New Hampshire, and I will be at Bank Square Books in Mystic, Connecticut. And I should say, Bank Square is on November 5th. The Bookery is on October 21st.
You have a website, don't you?
I don't. I'm building one. I'm building one.
Because people want to remember these days.
Yes.
Well, they can connect with you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now that's what's coming up. You're going to be in New Hampshire again.
Yes.
You're going to be. Then you're going to swing down to Connecticut.
Yes.
Okay. So you are basically he's a publicist dream. I mean, a lot of people say I don't want to go further than just around the clock to Rhode Island.
No.
I'm like, okay, fine. I deal with that. There's plenty of places.
Yeah.
But a lot of people say just send me where you want to send.
Yeah. That's how I feel. I need to. So while I've gotten reviews on Goodreads and on Amazon and this sort of thing from all over the country, I've California, Oregon, down south in Mississippi, I've got reviews from all these places. If I can, like you say, the picture on the back of the book, put picture to face to person, face to name. I want to get out there. And I want to be able to go to these stores in Connecticut, New York, build my way out, and shake some hands, get to know some people.
That's nothing like being in person.
No,
an author can talk me blind and say, "Oh, I'm on Amazon," and say, I'm like, "I'm happy for you. That's great."
Great. Mm-hmm.
But how badly, especially if you're new,
yes.
you want to get out there.
Yes,
people want to see you.
Yeah,
they
absolutely.
really do. I know I'm like that.
Yeah.
I don't go to Amazon to buy books. I'm either at a bookstore. Yeah. Or I've read about you, and I'll connect with the author, or I'll have them right on the show.
Yep. And
in that way, I can read the book.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever bought a book, for me anyway, off of Amazon.
No. There's a lot of different options. I mean, there's bookshop.org is a great resource where people and every purchase on bookshop.org gets funneled. A little bit of gets funneled into these indie bookstores. So competing with Amazon is hard. It's a multi-billion-dollar company.
I know.
But support those local bookstores. The Tatnucks and things like this. So
and Worcester. Oh my gosh, they're filled with these. Did you, as a kid, very often our traits will show up as a kid.
Yeah.
Did your teachers or somebody ever tell you, you're good at reading or writing?
Yeah, a little bit. I have this distinct recollection of being in 6th grade, and we used to have about a half hour at the end of each day we had to write in our journal. And rather than just kind of diarying? Writing?
We're not talking about diary.
No, not that. Writing about my day or anything like this.
He's quite an author.
I can't think of the words. Rather than take time to write about my day, I wrote a story. And I can distinctly remember the story was about being in this maze of a tunnel, and there were wolves chasing me, and I thought it was the greatest thing I ever wrote in my entire life. It probably was at that point the greatest thing I had ever written. And my teachers had encouraged me, this is good, great imagination, this sort of thing. But it never came to fruition, until 35 or so. I'm 41 now.
Yeah.
So, it never really came to fruition.
Did you go to college? You had to go to college in the future. Where'd you go?
So I started at Boston College. My father worked there forever, and I started there. But I ended up ending my college career at Southern New Hampshire University.
The one that you can go online?
Yes, but I was not online. I was in person there.
That is so... Oh, you could go both?
Oh, yeah.
Where is it located?
Manchester Hooksett Line in New Hampshire.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. They're pushing the online quite a bit.
I
yes,
noticed.
But
Yeah.
they just built all sorts of dorms and everything there. And
Does your book, I mean, I'm not into this, but is your book on that thing, that Kindle gizmo there?
it is actually, yes.
I hate that.
The Kindle, it is. It's I did a free download one day download back in June or July, I want to say.
Yeah.
And I got 2,500 downloads, which is fantastic. And I'm currently being read in 7 different countries at the moment. So this is great news.
Okay, but if they're not buying your book,
Yes.
then you're losing, aren't you?
Absolutely. So I'm playing the long game at the moment.
Yeah.
So the what I learned I had briefly mentioned that I had thought, 2 months from now, that book will be on the shelves back in, December of 2021. What I didn't know was all the work that goes into it. So querying all these different agents and this sort of thing. And what I discovered is a lot of agents are not interested in or not willing to take a chance on an unpublished author because they don't want to waste their time with somebody who may not sell anything. So what I learned from discussing with a lot of different people is promote, do your best here, and then when your next book comes out, when you're querying these agents, you can say, hey, I've sold X number of books. I've been downloaded X number of times. And then they say, well, geez, he did that by himself.
Yeah.
Imagine what I can do for him, and so that's what we're doing. That's what we're trying to do.
We are talking with Jared Grace, and he has written this book. Boy, you see the cover, man. This is isolation. Look at that. I mean, when I got this in the mail, I'm like, oh my God.
Thank you. You're very kind.
This is really going to be a nail biter.
Thank you.
Do you see anything out of this genre? Well, the new one is going to be more of a mystery.
More of a mystery, yeah. There's a horror aspect to it, but it's more mystery.
Do you think, one thing I don't usually read is historical fiction.
Yeah.
I can't, I know, nothing against it, but I just...
Sure, I understand.
I'm done. Fantasy, no.
Yep.
This comes as close, and then, of course, thrillers.
Thrillers, yeah, sure.
Do you think you might write a thriller?
No, yes, I think so. So my mother, who will be watching this at some point.
Hello, Mom.
Hey, Mom. So she had at one point questioned my thought process as to switching genres, going from horror to something that's a little more mystery and that sort of thing. And my inspiration for this was Stephen King. I love Stephen King.
How about Stephen Koontz?
No, Dean Koontz.
Dean Koontz.
Yes.
Got it. Yeah.
Not as much as Stephen King. Not bad, but not as much as Stephen King.
King's got it, though.
King's he's great.
And you like him.
I love him. So, and I said, okay, granted, I am no Stephen King yet, but I am no Stephen King. But he's changed genres. He's gone from horror to, Shawshank Redemption or Hearts in Atlantis and this sort of thing. So I said, well, what the heck? If I got a story that's in a different genre, I don't think there's any problem with that.
I can see this. Speaking of Stephen King's movie, that Shawshank Redemption is one of my all-time. You'd think it would be just the guys.
Yeah.
But
it's a great one.
there was I know it was a very hard type of movie, very, very realistic. But you got glimpses of real humanity in there, and that's where it got me.
You do.
Especially at the end when Red does find Tim.
Yes.
It's like, oh my God, what are the odds?
Yes, you're right. You hit on something just there, though, that I hope to incorporate. I hope I've done it in isolation, but I hope to do it in my other books as well. In that, talking about humanity. Stephen King's his characters are always so developed and they're so relatable. They're protagonists, but they're flawed in a lot of different ways. And I want to bring that into my stories as well, so that people can understand and relate to the world.
And people, when you give presentations and things like that, you don't know who's going to be in your audience.
No, you don't.
You could be somewhere where it's all people over 60, or you could be somewhere where there are people 20s and 30s. You don't know.
Absolutely.
Because, like Tatnock or the other bookstores, they just get the word out. Okay?
Yes.
And it's anybody's guess who's going to be there. So you sold out.
Yeah, sold out there. Yeah,
and that is fantastic.
They were wonderful over there. I had never been, actually, because I live in New Hampshire and so far up. When I had first contacted them, and Rebecca had said, "Hey, I'd love to, carry your book. Do you have any that you can drop off?" I had my sister and my mother, who were actually up in New Hampshire for that particular weekend, bring the few books down.
Came with you?
No, they
went alone.
They went alone. They took my books. They went alone. They called me. They said, "Jared, this place is wonderful."
Oh gosh, it's a girl's dream, especially. You walk in, your girlfriend and I could really relate.
Yes.
Oh my God, they got the clothes, they got the bling bling jewelry.
Yeah.
That right up front.
And right up front.
Okay.
Yep.
Then if you could plow your way through that, then I get to the books.
Yes.
Stuffed animals. I can't.
Everything.
Can't get enough. There's a place that I think you would love. Are you willing to go up to Webster, Mass?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
I'll write it down for you.
Please do.
The Book Lovers Gourmet is extremely popular.
Okay.
And I know the owner very well. I've had many over the years, authors sitting right there, and they go there. And I highly recommend it. It's cozy. It's well known.
Mm-hmm.
It's right off of Route 16, the main drag.
Okay.
Can't miss it.
Okay.
So I will refer you
Yeah,
over
please
there.
do.
I can't. There's so many places. Have you been to Barnes and Noble yet? Or they're not going to accept it?
So they actually are accepting it. They are, but not on their shelves. They have a strain. They're corporate, so it's a little bit different than the indie shop. I had to file some paperwork with them, and they are carrying it. They did send me an email about a month and a half ago. They do have stock somewhere in their warehouse, wherever that goes. So you have to order it online. So go into Barnes and Noble, go to the counter, say, I'd love to order Jared Grace's
So when are they
Isolation.
going to put it out for the rest of the people to see?
I don't know, and I think a lot of that has to do with being self-published.
There you go again. Yeah.
Yeah, they don't. These corporate companies, BAM. I spoke to the woman who runs BAM in Concord, New Hampshire, and she said, "We'd love to have you, but our policy is we cannot carry self-published authors."
Thank God
in
for
our
the
stores.
indies.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
The
exactly.
independent bookstores. Well, again, Jared, how can they reach you and get your book?
Yeah, so again, if you really go anywhere, if Amazon is your jam, go to Amazon. But if not, I tell you everyone to support their local bookstore, any small indie store, or the Barnes & Noble, the BAM, just go over to the counter, say, I'd love to order Jared Grace's Isolation, and they can order it for you. I believe it's 4 or 5 days will be in your hand, and you can give it a read, and I hope you enjoy it and love it. And if you want to just find me online, it's again author Jared G on TikTok, author Jared G 25 at gmail.com if you just want to shoot me an email, and I can kind of keep you up to date on the upcoming website and any upcoming work that I have.
If they want you to come and do a presentation, give or just a book signing, whatever, they can reach you those ways too.
Absolutely.
They can
Absolutely.
definitely.
And I'd be thrilled to do so.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you're willing to travel all over the line.
Wherever I can go, as far as my car will take me. That's right.
Are there many more indies finally coming into New Hampshire?
There are. I've reached out to a lot of them, and many of them have said that they are willing to carry the book. I know it's at Toadstool Bookstore in Keene.
Yes.
It's at the Bookery in Manchester. It's at Gibson's Bookstore in Concord, and I'm forgetting one. Tatnock, but that's in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
So it's at least at those. And the Littleton Bookstore up in Littleton, New Hampshire, which is way north.
I
if
know
you go
in
that
Maine
far.
they've got a few too.
Yes. It's funny. One of the things that I'm hearing from several of these little indie bookstores, though, one down the Cape at the moment that I was in contact with, they wanted to carry it, but they'll only carry local self-published authors within a 25-mile radius.
That's
I think
nuts.
I said, well, I grew up down there. Like, I grew up in Randolph, Massachusetts, and this sort of thing. Bridgewater, Massachusetts. I said,
Hey,
I
I've
don't...
lived in Bridgewater.
Did you? Yeah, that's where I went to high school.
Right across from the college.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Waterford
Sure.
Village?
Well, I know Waterford well. Yes, I know
I
Waterford
lived there
well.
with my parents. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know that. I lived on High Street in
Oh my
in there.
God,
Yeah.
small world.
Went to Bridgewater, Raynham, graduated from there and everything. Yeah,
How about Vermont? Do they have as many?
they do. I've reached out to some. I haven't heard back from a lot of them yet.
Yeah, I've had that experience
Yeah.
with doing the research for my authors.
Yeah.
And it's almost a very different vibe. If you
Yeah.
connect with in Worcester
You're saying that. I do want
and
to look
Rhode
into
Island, Providence, Rhode Island.
Yes. Yep.
And also, if you're willing to get on the ferry and go over to like Martha's
that.
Vineyard,
I've thought of that too.
we have we call him our local whodunit.
Yeah.
He's a wonderful older gentleman. I think he's approaching 90. Excuse
wow.
me, Glenn, if it is, but he writes a series of the same character whodunits. Every year he comes out with
I love that.
He summers in Martha's Vineyard.
Yeah.
And he sells his books. They'll have like a fair,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
he'll join on his front porch. You could, like cottages.
Sure.
And he'll have his books, and he'll just right up here and
I
help
love
you.
that. I love that.
It's amazing. Now you live, being in New Hampshire, in
Yeah.
your town of Compton.
Campton.
Campton. Have you been to your own library?
And you know what? I haven't. And the reason I haven't is because the Campton Public Library is actually inside the elementary school, and I don't know that Isolation fits in the elementary
Well,
school.
Plymouth, Manchester.
Plymouth is different. You're right.
Manchester, the big.
Yes.
Go for the biggest cities.
Yes.
Nashua.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, go for those.
You're
Just the
absolutely right.
bigger places. Community centers.
Yeah.
There's so many.
I've been looking for these. It's fair season, or it was fair season, and we went to a couple of fairs here. And I kept saying to myself, "Oh, I wish I had set up a booth, at one of these fairs and done that."
I've had authors say to me, "Why are you sending me to a craft fair?"
Yeah.
I said, "Because you're going to stand out."
Yes, you are.
And
yeah.
they do.
Yep.
And they do well.
Yeah.
Also, consider they're probably about ending up there now, but farmers markets.
Yes, I love farmers
Excellent.
markets.
Have you done it yet there?
I have not, but I love them.
Try it.
I love
Try it.
them,
You
yes.
will again stand out.
Yes, you're
Because,
absolutely right.
people are going to a craft fair or a farmer's market and they're like, and suddenly they're like, oh my goodness.
Right.
It's just,
Yep.
I've had that reaction, and
Yes.
I'm tickled to death. In Rhode Island,
Yes.
there is annually in December a huge Rhode Island authors fair.
Oh.
And it is
okay.
humongous. I
Okay.
can write down.
You're giving me some good information here.
This
This is great.
well, that's what I do.
Yes, no, this is great.
Yeah, oh God, it could go even more. We could go all day with what I know, but you might love to go to that.
I feel like I might, yes.
It used to be in Cranston.
Okay, sure.
Paul, do you remember where it is now? It wasn't Cranston. No. Okay. It's now. I walked in. We walked in. I remember. It was wall to wall, aisle to aisle, different venues of.
No kidding.
You love it.
I feel, this is great.
They have classes in there, and they have, I guess, like snacks and treats.
Yeah.
And it's now moved to one of those luxury hotels,
Okay.
and you still get the great big room.
Yep.
They do it once a year. The Rhode Island Authors Expo.
Okay, I had never even heard of this. This is great.
Yeah, Steve Porter and his wife Dawn
Mm-hmm.
run. Another thing you would like is a bookstore in, I believe they're in Pawtucket.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get me wrong, but we just had Steve on, and that's another place you probably would. I can go on.
Yeah, this is great.
This is crazy. Okay, so anyway, it's not about that. Jared Grace. And hey, by the way, once you're on YouTube, you're all over the world.
Yes.
If by any chance my old friend from high school, John Grace, maybe in California, whatever, is watching this show,
Yes.
or someone sees it, he used to live in Wilbraham, Massachusetts, and I remember we knew each other in high school, went to 2 proms together. Jared says he's not related to you in any way,
No.
but the name Grace to me is unusual.
And we say this because my father's name was John Grace.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
right.
exactly. Get in contact with the Upton Town Hall, Upton Cable Station, whatever, for this show. Be my guest, and they will connect you with me. What a gas that would be.
That would be great.
Don't be shy. Good grief. No way. So, Jared, one last time. How
Yes.
can they get a hold of you?
Once again, so it's author Jared G on TikTok or author Jared G 25 at gmail.com. There's probably the easiest 2 ways to find me. And if you're interested in the book, again, go to any local bookstore and just have them ordered if it's not already on the bookshelves.
Jared, before we close, are you going to give a copy of your book up to the huge new local library?
It feels like I should probably do that.
I'll donate them.
Yeah.
Do you want to keep your hardcover?
Yes.
Sure. Take
Yeah.
this with you.
I will do just that.
And people, you can go up to the Upton Town Library, which is our new Upton Center, right up the street, 1 minute up the road.
Yep, right.
Go in, say you've just been on the show. They
Yes.
used to be downstairs.
I heard
And
that.
say you're giving this to the local authors, whatever, the dedicated site.
I love that.
Right there. And it's another great way to get your book out there.
I will do that.
Go see his book.
Yes.
Thank you. We're going to have him on again. You're going to let me know when the next one's ready. You said
100%.
it's almost ready.
It is almost ready.
You better let me know.
Yes, I will definitely be in touch.
We'll see you next time and be my guest.
Riding on a shooting star, heading out toward a dream. Tomorrow's even closer than it seems.